Breaker Broke 23. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to add Bluetooth with some extra punch. Okay, YouTubers, so I've got a couple other videos out there that show you guys how to Bluetooth any home stereo. But I should have showed you how to Bluetooth your vintage home stereo and add some punch. So in this video, that's what I'm going to do. And I'll show you what the problem is. When we have a certain set volume here, so like we're listening to the radio.
After winning 74 consecutive times and a total of...
We'll go over here and we'll turn on our CD player. That's okay. We're going to go to auxiliary and play our Bluetooth. Well, what happened to it? My phone's up all the way. Listen to the difference. So the problem is when you turn this up, then you go to FM.
Is the #1 Forest River Park
or your other input. The Bluetooth is just not there. And quite honestly, it just doesn't really sound right. It's not full. It has no punch. So, I'm going to show you how to give this system some punch. Okay, in my previous videos I showed you guys how to add Bluetooth to your vintage home stereo, and I did it in what I would say would be almost an audiophile style, considering a lot of audiophiles don't consider Bluetooth as audiophile. But I did this particular setup for two things. I wanted ease of use. I wanted to be able to just walk in the house, turn on my stereo, pair my phone to it, and be done with it. I don't want to recharge. I don't want to plug or mess around with plugs and jacks. So I showed how to use the Fusion, the JL Audio, and the Harman Kardon Bluetooth receivers. Now I like the Fusion and the JL Audio units because these are meant for marine use or to put in your car stereos. And I like the fact that it has a nice long RCA cord built onto it. These have a better filtering system in their circuitry as far as filtering out ignition noise and different noises. And these are a clean unit. These are meant to be RCA preamp level versus the Mickey Mouse headphone jack and stuff that a lot of people try to do with their phone. So another thing too, you can unwind this cord. You can put your stereo receiver way back in your entertainment center, and you can add this up high, mount this up high and out of the way of your electronics, so you're going to get a really good range. So when you walk throughout your house, it'll be less likely to cut out and give you problems. So I use a 12-volt AC wall adapter, and I have it plugged in here into the switched 110-volt output. By the way, always check the voltage. You know, when you get a 12-volt adapter, they're not always 12 volts. They're usually a little high, and you don't want to go over about 14.9 to 15 volts. It's just not very good for these. You want to stay, 14.9, 14.8, and then, lower. Anyway, the problem is, though, the output level of this and pretty much every Bluetooth on the market, including the output level of your phone, is not going to equal, say, your FM volume level that the preamp gives your receiver here, and it's also not going to be as loud as your external CD player. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to make all that a little more even? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to add a line driver. I love these PAC LD10s. These things, you can get them on the cheap. I like PAC. I'll put the links to how to get this stuff down there. I've been using PAC in the car audio field since the 80s. This is good stuff. This is designed in America and built in China, which is pretty much the way it is nowadays. But you can get one of these for what, like 12 bucks? And because it comes from the car audio market, we're going to have really good power supply filtering in here. And the idea of this is we're going to use this line driver to drive this receiver a little bit harder, so all of your volumes are pretty much the same. Because what's happening here when you only use like your Bluetooth adapter, your FM volume here is going to be really high. Your volume on your CD player is going to be really high. But when you go to this just doesn't have the preamp level to equal the other volumes. So what happens is you're listening to your Bluetooth, you're jamming along on your Bluetooth, you're done with it. Somebody in the house comes along and maybe puts it to auxiliary or turns on to FM. You're going to blow your speakers, you know, right out of the house. You'll blow yourself out of the house. Not only that, by adding this line driver, are we going to cure that issue? We're also going to get some punchy punch out of this Bluetooth unit. This thing's going to rock. No more will you have just a stale, ho-hum sounding Bluetooth. This is going to kick it up a notch. I'm going to show you. Okay, so these are really easy to hook up. What I've done is I've hooked up my power, my 12 volt power source. So I've got the AC adapter here. I've got the power cord, or the wires that come from the AC adapter. I have soldered and heat shrunk them like this. So what I'm doing is I'm giving the Bluetooth receiver 12 volts. I'm giving the line driver 12 volts. So this is a really easy thing to do. What we're going to do is we're just going to come over here. We're going to unplug the Bluetooth from the stereo. We're going to plug it into the line driver. So these are our inputs. Now, I did a little modification to this line driver. When these come from the factory, they have 2 female RCA jacks. And what you're supposed to do is use a jumper RCA from here to here. But what I did is I actually soldered on some new ends just to tidy it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the line driver directly to the input jacks on my auxiliary, on my input of the Marantz here. So what we have is we have the Fusion Bluetooth device going into the line driver. I've already preset the line driver. These are very easy. They have left and right adjustments right here, right? So you can just stick a small screwdriver in there and get that adjusted. Not a problem. What this is going to do, this is going to give us some more headroom. This Bluetooth is going to come alive. So now we're going to flip this thing around and I'll show you what we did. Okay, so let's see what we've accomplished here. Okay, we're going to go back. I've got the volume level kind of down low. And here's what FM sounds like. Okay, so that's a pretty loud signal. This Marantz is just like that. I'm going to go over here to our CD player, and we're going to start this track on both the CD player and on my smartphone. And you will hear that when I go from the CD player to my Bluetooth, actually now I've got the Bluetooth set up just a little bit hotter. So let's start this. Let's start them both. We'll go like this, and we'll go here. Okay, this is the CD player. Now there's the Bluetooth. So we've got equal volume. Okay, the tuner will still blow us out of the house. Actually, the Bluetooth actually sounds just a hair better now. And that's because we've got just a little bit more preamp boost than we have, or with the Bluetooth than we have with the Sony. Okay, anyway, that's how I add Bluetooth to a vintage home stereo with punch. I want to thank you guys for watching. We're up to like 7,500 subscribers. This is unreal. I want to thank all of my subscribers. Shout out to Surrounding Stereo that, I may be pronouncing that wrong, that he watched one of my videos and kind of gave me crap a little bit for crimping my connections together. So for him, I soldered my connections. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and feel free to leave comments down below.